All right, guys, welcome to episode 6 of the Manly Mission podcast. I'm your host, Farhan Rana, back with you again another week. It's really a great time for me to be back with you guys because I do have some updates just in terms of how I've been managing my daily schedule and just some improvements I've made essentially, which have really been contributing to my overall happiness and productivity. So I'll be sharing those a little bit later on. But as you guys have seen, the topic of today is sleep and how we can really optimize that, and what are some issues with us not getting enough sleep, or or why we're not prioritizing getting to bed earlier. Um, Before we get started, like I do always, I do want to share with you my free workout plan. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can check this out in the link in the description, and make sure to subscribe as well. Or if you just want to look for it while you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can go to farhanrana.com/workout. What that does is it gives you a free 7-day workout plan, which has the exact exercises, the exact meal plan, not the meal plan guidance basically, and it should give you enough information to get started with a solid workout plan as we now move into the month of February. And if you're feeling a little low on motivation, or you just want to spice things up and maybe have a different routine, I would highly recommend you guys check that out and see if it's a good fit for you, which I think it will. It's basically more or less of what I do in terms of my own workout programming. Um, okay, so the topic for today, like I said, is about sleep. And, you know, stating the obvious, sleep is really important for your overall health, and prioritizing that will really help you build muscle and optimize recovery in that sense. Because as we all know, we should know, really the only true, I guess you could say, enhancement when it comes to building muscle is going to be sleep. It's time tested. It increases your testosterone, reduces stress, really allows your body to recover from the intense training you do on a daily or even a weekly basis. That just goes without saying. But what I want to touch on is really why sleep is why it's such a huge problem for many of us. And I kind of want to go off this one term which I came across about a year ago, and it was fascinating because when I read that term, I was like, that was me. That describes me for like the longest time, for like almost 2 or 3 years. And the term it's called revenge bedtime procrastination. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's basically when you procrastinate, you put off going to sleep because you haven't had the time to de-stress or unwind at the end of the day, or even do activities that you normally would, just because your day is so hectic, or it's just you just have so many things on your plate that you just put off going to sleep consciously or subconsciously, because you just feel as if you haven't had enough time to do the things you want to do. Now, that when I heard of that, like it was, I didn't know that was me for like almost 3 years while I was working my first job. And it's no fault of the job necessarily. I think it really came down to the time I was putting into commuting, and also I was going to the gym like 3 times a week. So that was eating up a lot of my schedule, or my free time, I should say. So when I got back home, it was like 7, sometimes even 8 p.m. I'd have to, shower, eat dinner, and then if I wanted to get to bed at a solid time would be, like 10 p.m., wake up at 6, that kind of thing. But because I was so tired and exhausted at that point of the day, like I was just like so here's what I did. I would just stay up playing video games for like the longest time. I'd start like around 7. No. I'd start playing like after dinner, like around 8:30, and then on really bad days, I would be up until like 12:30, sometimes even 1, just like. And my sort of justification for doing it was the fact that, well, I haven't had my time to myself. Like, sure, like going to the gym is like time to myself, but it hasn't been relaxing time. It hasn't been time where like I've unwinded and kind of taken a break from the day and really kind of come back to a lower energy level, if you want to put it like that. Basically, just get down to a point where I'm like, okay, now I'm kind of relaxed. Now I can kind of think about other things. If I want to think about work the next day, I can do that. But it wasn't like this constant like replay of every single day. And if you're even somewhat resonating with me or like what I'm saying, I think you'll kind of be like, yeah, that's how I've been for the past like a while now. I thought it was just me just putting off sleep because I mean now you know why. There's an actual term for it. It's called bedtime procrastination. Um, so I thought I'd start off with that because when we talk about sleep and how to get sleep and all these tips and tactics and all this kind of stuff, um, a lot of people who are giving advice on this or even just kind of speaking on this, they tend to kind of go over this point, really talk about the problem at first and why we're not doing this. And I think like where people's schedules are becoming more sort of merged with their life, with the lines between work and life are really being blurred because of remote work or just the nature of how jobs are going now. I think it's really important to be cognizant of this fact that if you don't assess what's really important in your life and really prioritize what you should be doing on a day-to-day basis, you're going to find yourself falling into this trap pretty much every single night. Maybe not on weekends, but during the weekday, which is like 5 days out of the 7 days of the week. If you find yourself doing that on a consistent basis, I mean that's definitely a problem that needs resolving, and it's going to look different for everyone. Maybe it's not video games for you. Maybe it's Netflix, which is like a huge thing for a lot of people, or the equivalent of Netflix, wherever you prefer watching. Or if it's not that, it's just really spending time on your phone, just mindlessly scrolling, doom scrolling, whatever it's called, and that's your way of de-stressing. And I've already talked about social media, so I won't go on to that point in my last video. But the point remains that if you find yourself in this trap every single night where you're just like, yeah, I don't want to go to sleep right now. Because here's the thing, I used to have this thing too where it would be, say, like 9 p.m. and I'd be like, well, I could go to sleep. I could sleep at like 9:30 and then wake up 6:30 whenever, feeling super refreshed, getting like my 8.5, 9 hours. And that would be a great start to my day. But the thing that kept on coming up in my mind, it was like a constant replay every single night, it wasn't like a verbal thing I would say to myself. It was more like an emotional thing. I would feel like, yeah, why should I go to sleep? Why should I get to sleep and then restart my day? Just that it just didn't make any sense to me. I didn't see the value in a sense, restarting the day over again when I haven't even had time to myself. That was how I justified it. Now, whether this is actually productive or not, and the only reason I'm even raising this question is because I think what this problem really does, it helps us address what's going on in our day. Because and the way I've kind of solved it is, to put it very simply, I quit my job this last August. Since that point, I've just set a rule for myself, like I'm gonna be in bed at 9:30. Sometimes I have classes late in the day, so it's like I get to sleep maybe like around 10:30 or so. But the only way I got some kind of control over this problem was really quitting my job. Now, that may not be feasible for you. Maybe you're not going to maybe what you might be doing is like you have a full-time job and you need to have that job to pay your bills and that kind of stuff. Or you're just like a super busy professional medical school student, and you just need to be putting in the hours to study or go to clinic, that kind of stuff, until like 11 p.m. and that's just what you need to do. I mean, that's just how it is for you. I can't say you shouldn't do that or you should just quit medical school. Like that wouldn't be my advice. Especially that's something of that caliber. Like you put a lot of effort into it, so you definitely should pursue it. But what I want you to do is, if you're running into this problem, really assess, like, or ask yourself the question, what can I do to mitigate this? Because believe it or not, this problem will not go away unless you make some kind of changes during your day. Um, and I think where this is where a lot of self accountability really comes into play, and really asking yourself, looking at your day and asking where, first of all, looking at the obvious, where am I spending time where I shouldn't be spending time? Or where am I wasting time? Really look at that. And you might be tempted to be like, well, it's not really wasting time at the end of the day where I'm watching like 3 hours of Netflix to just, take a break. I want you to even look at that and really count that as part of wasted time or time spent unproductively. Um, and once you've done that, once you have some sort of idea of how much time you're spending, really look at that. So, say on a weekly basis, if you do like use the screen time feature on your phone or something, um, and you look at it and you're like, well, I've been spending like consistently 3 hours every night watching Netflix or playing video games, whatever the case may be. Once you have looked at that, um, what you should do is really ask yourself how much of this is necessary. Can I do something? Can I half this basically, or can I do something that's equally as fulfilling, equally as relaxing, but it isn't as much of a unproductive activity in that sense. So to give you guys an example, maybe what you could do is, say you come home like 8 p.m. It's been a really long day. You've been exhausted. You've had, like, similar to what I used to do. I used to have a 2 hour commute total, 1 hour going, 1 hour coming back. You've hit the gym. At this point, you're just like absolutely just exhausted. Like, you have no room for anything. You don't want to talk to anyone. You don't want to do anything that requires even a single brain cell. So at this point, you're just like, yeah, I just want to just wind down, just like, play some video games. I just want to relax. What you might consider doing is, I know this sounds like really old fashioned, or maybe something your parents told you was like, hey, just put a timer on like how much you play, um, or really just make it goal oriented in a sense. Like, okay, like if you're gonna watch a show, so you're gonna be like, yeah, I want to watch 2 episodes or 1 episode, whatever the case may be, and then after that, I'm gonna write. I'm gonna journal, or I'm just gonna stretch out after a long day. It's something that. So what you want to do is basically follow up your unproductive habit with something that's a little bit productive. Something that takes you away from your screens, which is also going to, it's going to tie into how you can improve your sleep. So that's one way of going about it. The other way, which is going to be a little difficult, a little harder for people to do, is really look at what you're doing during the day and see if there's any changes you can make there. Now, obviously, if you're working like an 8 hour job, like a 9 to 5 thing, you can't really make too much. You can't really change that. Um, the only changes you could make is either cut down your hours or just quit, which I understand it. Or, if you're going to school, that kind of thing, or just drop out of your program, which is not something you should do. But I would really, really push you on that point too. Maybe there is some way where you can manage to get out of work early or negotiate with your employer or what you're doing at school. And really ask yourself, do I need to be putting in this many hours, or can I adjust my schedule a little bit so I get out of work maybe even like an hour earlier? Or you go into work early, come back an hour early. That gives you a little bit extra time in the evening to really unwind, and not fall into this trap of revenge bedtime procrastination. That's going to be a little harder. I do understand that, so I do want to acknowledge that. And if you just can't do that, I mean, that's just the season of life you're in. You just need to just accept that, or really think about getting out of that position by working on a second source of income, during your evening hours. That could be something that you productive that you do during your evening wind down time. Is say after an hour of watching Netflix, you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna work on a business, so that I have a part time or like a second source of income coming in, so that I don't have to work full time and I can um, really cut down my hours so that I have more of a grasp on my daily schedule. So those are two kind of ways to combat this issue of revenge bedtime procrastination. And I don't want you guys to brush it off. I really don't want you to do that. I don't want you to say, like, yeah, this is just how it is. I can't really make any changes about it. Because that's a cop out. That's just an excuse. If you recognize that this is a problem, and, to be very honest with you guys, I didn't even know this was a problem. I just accepted this as fact, as a lot of you guys might be doing. I was just like, this is just how it is. There's no way around this. The only time I can kind of unwind is on Friday evenings until Sunday evenings, Sunday afternoons, whatever the case may be. And I just accepted that as fact. I didn't really think about it. I mean, I was thinking about entrepreneurship. I was thinking about creating a second source of income. It just didn't really come together for me for a long time. Um, or I wasn't really thinking about going to graduate school where I would have more flexible schedule while still working towards my goals. For a solid 3 years, that was me. And it was crazy. Like the way it started out, or the way it like kind of became more of a habit. It was just insidious. I think the first 2 months I was kind of okay because I was really getting into the groove of work. I was getting used to the schedule, but it's crazy. Even 2 months into my job, that's when it kind of started really creeping in. Um, and like I said, I don't want to blame my job for this necessarily. I could put this maybe on the commute. It was just like brutal. 1 hour every 2 hours every day. So 10 hours of my week spent on just sitting in the train. It's just like it just like sounds disgusting when I think about it now. I mean, I'm grateful for it because it really gave me the opportunity to look at this is almost as bad as it can be. I mean, obviously it's worse for other people who have to commute even longer, work even longer hours. So I do want to acknowledge that. But man, it was bad. And I know like someone like listening to this who's working like full time job is like, yeah, it's not that bad, dude. Like everyone else does it. But the kind of emotional and even mental, physical toll it was taking on me was like, like I said, like the perfect way to describe it, it was insidious. It just creeped in, and there was no way of me to really combat that because my way of coping with the super long day, super exhausting day, was to be like, yeah, I don't want to go to sleep right now. Like, why should I go to sleep? Why should I just lose consciousness and then the next thing I know, I'm back at 6 a.m. the next day? Like, why should I do that? I need some time to like do whatever I want to do. So, if you guys are in this position, I really do want to empathize with you and say like, yeah, like that's something that is a real problem. And the solutions I've listed, one, looking at the time you're spending on unproductive activities, really take a close look at those and see if you can make any adjustments there. The second thing I suggested, which is a bit harder, obviously, is to look at your daily schedule and see if you can make some changes there. And I think once you do this with intentionality and you really look at your day, um, you can start to make some kind of changes. You can start to be like, well, I can't make this change right now, but maybe in like 3 months, 6 months, I could be in a position, and that gives you a little extra motivation during the evenings or whenever you have your free time to be like, yeah, I'm going to work towards this goal so that I don't have this problem 6 months or even 3 to 6 months from now. You should really be proactive about this because I don't think a lot of people talk about this or even acknowledge this as a problem. Everyone is just like, yeah, I feel terrible at the end of the day. And because of that, I sleep late, I sleep poorly. It's just how it is. Everyone does this, and it shouldn't be this way. Ideally, everyone should be getting a good amount of sleep every night, waking up refreshed, waking up ready to take on the day. And the fact that this isn't happening, especially for guys in my kind of age bracket or even younger guys, um, I think it's really a point of self reflection and looking at how we can make some changes to this. Um, so I know this is about to be how to get better sleep, but this is really the main issue that I think a lot of people will um, really resonate with, and you should really think about how uh, you can make ways to solve this. Um, let's see what else in terms of my notes. Um, so I do want to give you guys some, looking at how to sleep better and all that kind of stuff, like give you some actual tips and tactics too. Because I like to make my videos practical and something that you can actually implement. I mean, the stuff I said about bedtime procrastination, that has some actionable tips there too. But in terms of actually sleeping better, sleeping longer, can you do, um, regardless of whether you have this problem or not? The first thing is going to be really try to sleep earlier. I know that sounds super obvious, but that's just how it is. Like that's just something that you have to really look at and see. Can you sleep earlier? First of all, does your schedule allow it? Um, so what I've been doing, I've been in bed at 9:30, almost consistently throughout the week. Maybe there's like 2 or 3 days around the weekends when I sleep like around 10:30 or so. Um, Rarely has ever gone beyond that. Maybe if I'm hanging out or like if I'm at a social event or that kind of thing, I'll tend to stay a little earlier. But at that point, I mean, I can justify it as like, yeah, I have some kind of social life, so you know, makes sense for me to stay out. So really look at that. Can you sleep a little? I don't want. I shouldn't say can you sleep earlier. It's just like you should sleep earlier. You should look at when can you sleep at an earlier time than what you would normally do. So say you're sleeping at 12 and that's just been your routine, really try to push it back. Push it back to 9:30. Push it back to 10. And I know this is going to be like, yeah, I mean, the whole thing about bedtime procrastination, you're just telling me to like just go to sleep. Like I don't get time for myself. What you need to recognize is that part of your problem is the fact that you're not getting enough sleep. So one way to fix this problem that you have is to kind of get sleep. And what you could do um, is wake up earlier than your usual wake up time. Because what's going to happen when you have this procrastination every night is you're going to tend to wake up just in time to get to work. You're not going to get a good breakfast. You might not even have time to exercise before work if that's your thing. Um, you won't have time to have a slow, kind of calm morning. You're just going to be rushing things, and that's not going to work for you. So I do want you to consider waking up earlier. It's gonna depend for everyone, like when you actually wake up. But I would say aim for more than you would actually kind of need in terms of sleep. And what you'll find with that is that you'll just feel way more refreshed when you wake up in the day. You'll just feel more relaxed, and that's one thing that it's an obvious thing I would say, just sleep earlier. Now, in terms of sleeping better or sleeping through consistently throughout the night and not really waking up, um, I'm gonna say that it's gonna be tough for me to give like actual practical advice on this point because I haven't really been a person who's had trouble sleeping. I've had some problem falling asleep had that for like a good month or two. Um, but actually staying asleep, I haven't really had too much of a problem with that. But I have found that when I have worked out that day, when I've had a productive day, and I feel like a good kind of tired at the end of the day, if you get what I mean, then I tend to just fall asleep like almost instantly. I'll get in bed at 9:30 and like um, maybe 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, I'm just like knocked out. So I would say look at your physical activity. Are you doing enough? Are you doing enough activity during the day? Are you walking enough? I think walking is like really underrated. So if you should aim for 10,000 steps. I mean, that's like recommended guideline for walking. But I would say even half that. If you're walking, are you walking like 5,000 steps consistently every day? Are you working out even like 30, 40 minutes in the gym? Um, are you eating a clean diet which doesn't leave you bloated, doesn't leave you like feeling just disgusted with yourself? Like, are you doing like the basic things so that when you do fall asleep, you actually fall asleep? And you obviously want to look at your caffeine intake too. Are you someone who's um, taking caffeine like way late into the night? Sometimes what happens for me, like I'll have like a cup of tea around like 5, maybe 6. It doesn't really impact me too much. I know if I have coffee like around that time, I'll just be up for like a long time. Uh, so really look at your caffeine intake too and see if that's like contributing to this problem. Um, what else can I say on this? In terms of waking up, what you should do, I've had a huge problem with waking up early. It's just something I'll have to tell you guys. It's just like I'll have to admit that like it's just been something that I've struggled with for a long time, and only now in the past month or so, I'm kind of coming to really understand how my body works and how to get up early, or how to actually get up at a good amount of time, at a good time. Um, so what I've done is what I've placed my phone charging at the end of like far away from my bedside table, my nightstand, and just put it on my desk. So it's like charging there. When the alarm goes off at 6:30, I just walk over, turn it off. Sometimes I'll do this weird thing where like I'll turn it off, grab my phone, and come back to bed, um, just to kind of wake up in bed for another 10 minutes. I know it's not the best thing to do. What you should do ideally is just when you get up to turn off your alarm, you should just get to the restroom after that and just go on with your day. Um, but those are some things that I would recommend for waking up early. It's just really forcing your body to wake up. And um, on days when I've kept my phone by my nightstand, then just like turned off the alarm, like half asleep, like I haven't waken up on time. That's just something I know about myself. So you might consider making that kind of a change if waking up is a huge problem for you. Um, Trying to think if there's anything else I should share with you guys, but I didn't really make too many notes on this because, um, one, because I just didn't want to write so many notes and have like this detailed kind of script. I just don't like doing that. And another was I already kind of experienced this on a day-to-day basis, so I should have enough backup information to share with you guys. Um, I guess the last thing I'll say is from the perspective of being like a solid man who's on his purpose, who's doing the right things, who's making progress in his life. Sleep is going to be a huge thing for you. I mean, in the short term, in some instances, you might have to sacrifice sleep because you're really focused on what you're doing in terms of a project or your career, and those things are just going to have to happen. Um, but on a long term scale, if you're working out consistently, if you want to develop a good amount of muscle, I mean, you're gonna have to prioritize sleep. There's no other way about it. Um, what you could do, and I haven't experimented with this at all, is do sleep like in two phases. So I think it's called biphasic sleep or something, where you sleep maybe 4 or 5 hours during the night, and then you sleep another 3 to 4 hours in the afternoon when you have some time, um, like a siesta, as people would do, like uh, like in olden ages, whatever you want to call it, back in the day. So that's something that you can consider if you have a more flexible schedule. Maybe you're a student who doesn't have classes throughout the day, or if you're someone who works for themselves, like this could be something you could consider. Um, I know this won't really work for a lot of people because it's going to really interfere with your current sleep rhythm. And number two, maybe you just don't have the time during the afternoon to really take a solid 3 hours to just sleep, because you have other responsibilities or you have, commitments to family, that kind of thing. Um, but that's just an idea. I'm throwing it out. Like I said, I haven't experimented with this at all. So I can't really speak to that. But this could be something that you could implement and see how it works for you. But the point I was trying to make was you want to look at these foundational kind of cornerstone habits that you do throughout the day or throughout the week as part of your regular lifestyle and see how that contributes to you becoming a better man. Because the whole point of this channel isn't to give you tips and tactics. I could do that. I could just be like, yeah, do A, B, C, D to get result X, Y, Z. And that could be the end of my videos. But my point is to really inspire. My point is to get you guys to a position where you are making conscious choices about your life, which are bringing you progress, which are actually taking you towards certain goals and certain milestones in your life. Because that's the way I feel about myself at this moment. I'm just on a path. I'm on a trajectory towards certain goals I have, and I'm doing everything in my power to optimize the things where I know I have issues, and really seeing how I can make changes to those things. Like I said, sleep was a huge thing for me. I'm only recently coming to terms with how to improve it. And I'll keep you guys updated on how things are going if I have other recommendations or tips that I come across and that have really implemented, and see if they can help you guys. But my point still stands. You want to look at your life on a long-term scale and see, are the things I'm doing taking me towards my goals or away from my goals? And just really ask yourself that question whenever it comes to anything you're kind of doubtful about. Maybe you're contemplating, maybe you're watching this at night and you're just like, maybe, yeah, I don't want to go to sleep right now. I understand that. I've explained throughout this video like how I acknowledge that is a problem and it's not an easy fix to it. But the question I want you to ask at that moment, or in a similar moment where you're just about to go to the gym but you're just like, I'm just so tired, I don't want to do this right now, or you're just like, you don't have really anything to eat at home and you just have a frozen pizza and you're just like, I could just eat that, it's 1,000 calories, I'll feel full, I'll get back to my diet. What you want to ask in those kind of really pivotal moments is really ask yourself, is this taking towards my goals or away from your goals? I know this is you're not gonna win this battle every single time. Like you will fall short. I understand that. That's how it is for me as well. But this is a question we should be asking ourselves and really making conscious efforts to improve our lives. Because that's the worst thing we can do is just kind of give up and be like, yeah, things are out of my control. I can't really change my work schedule. Sleep is crap. I don't have time for the gym, blah, blah, blah. You're just going to make excuses for your life. And 10 years down the road, when, inshallah, like I'm in a better position and I've made changes to my life and I'm really proud of the man I've become, you'll more or less be the same. You'll more or less be like where you are. Maybe you've, made some improvements just because of the circumstances you're in currently. But you won't really be in a position to be proud of yourself, to really be proud of yourself. And to really look at your life and look at your physique, look at your finances, look at your success, and really be like, yeah, like I really put in the work in and it's really all coming together. I don't want that for you guys. I want you guys to improve. I want you guys to succeed. And that's the whole point of this channel. That's the whole point of this podcast. It's the whole point of everything I'm doing in terms of fitness, in terms of giving you guys advice on this kind of stuff. It's really to help you guys get to a position in life where you've made it and you're really successful. And the painful journey towards that, that's the beautiful part, man. Like if we had it any other, like if I had it any other way, like I wouldn't choose anything but this. Some guys will be like, yeah, I wish life was easier. Like I wish life was, I wish things were more suited to how I like them. Wish I had more resources, wish I had more time, wish I had more money, whatever the case may be. You can't give up on sacrifice, man. Like it's gonna take hard work. It's gonna take a lot of stumbling, a lot of learning, a lot of contemplation, a lot of looking into yourself and asking yourself why you're doing this, what your values are, and just things I'm talking about. Like I'm gonna make entire videos on this, because I think like having a complete kind of catalog of material or content that you guys can go back to and really find answers, find guidance, find some kind of information on this. I think it's really key, and it's what I want to give in terms of content to you guys. So on that point, if you guys have something that you want me to discuss, something that has really been on your mind, and you want me to look into this and create a video or a podcast on this, really do let me know in the comments. I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. We're coming up at like 35 minutes now. Um, here's another thing. So I did want to know if the long form content is something that you guys are enjoying. Um, I haven't really looked into doing shorter videos, maybe like 10, 15 minute videos, because as you guys have probably guessed by now, I just like get into a flow and I just keep going with it. I don't even have a script. Um, it's crazy. I used to be the guy who used to be like, yeah, I need a whole script, and then only can I speak fluently, can I speak like, um, can convey like good ideas and that kind of stuff, speak articulately, that kind of thing. But I guess it just speaks to the kind of skill that you develop over time. Um, I don't even know where I'm going with this right now. So yeah, the question was, if you prefer shorter videos, do let me know. I can throw some of those in during the week. Um, I do intend to do more podcast episodes during the week. I'm aiming for two, ideally three, just to really amp up the amount of content I'm producing. Because it's really not effortless, but it's really just easy for me to have a certain topic, maybe some notes, and really just go off of that. It's not. It doesn't take too much time in that sense. Um, so let me know what else you guys want me to discuss in the YouTube comments, and let me know if you would like me to experiment with shorter videos and see how those would work for you. If you're listening to this on your podcast platform, thank you once again. If you want to hop over to my YouTube and give me some comments there, I'd really appreciate that. Like I said in the very beginning, do subscribe and do check out my 7-day workout plan at farhanranda.com/workout, to really have something in terms of a solid workout to follow for 7 days. All right, guys, I'll wrap it up right there. Hope you guys have an amazing week going forward, and we'll talk again very soon. Peace.